Take it away.
All right. Well, it's here, finally here. This is a week we all look forward to. Rivalry week all across the country. If you're a college football fan, this is always a special week. Truly, the whole week. It's always something, fun to be a part of, and something I certainly appreciate and don't take for granted. And been a part of a lot of these. I guess this is my 20th one of these, and 13 Alabama-Auburn games. So, a lot of fun to be a part of, games like this that really matter to so many people. Always tough to head down to Columbia. That's a great environment. Their fans do an awesome job and creating a really tough venue to go play. But man, we look forward to the challenge. We got to have a great week of preparation. Obviously, they got some dudes that can really hurt you. Starting with their quarterback, I think he has really played good football for them, and he's a very, very, and heck, he played great against us last year. And he's a guy that plays with a lot of confidence. He can do a lot of things with his legs and his arms. Seems like every week I'm looking up, I'm seeing some quarterback's going to play in the NFL, like every single week. That's what we look at, and he's no different. So just another great quarterback, man, that presents a huge challenge for us. And he's got good receivers. The 24s really settled in and become a really hard-nosed, tough-to-tackle back for them. They've gotten some continuity up front. They're a little bit like us in that regard. They've had some kind of musical chairs a little bit with guys being in and out of the lineup or hurt, whatever. And so they've kind of created a little bit of continuity there. Tight end's a good player. They've got that number 8 going. He's kind of an interesting guy. He's a big, young athlete that I think's got a bright future. He's kind of been getting in the mix as well. But, 17 is, he's a superstar. And again, it seems like every week I look up and there's some freak outside that we're seeing. So great quarterbacks. We've seen a bunch of them. So they certainly present a lot of challenges there. And then defensively, this is a tough group, man. We've seen a bunch of these guys, they've got a couple guys that have had all-conference, all-American status at safety. I think their linebackers. I think the nickel kid is 24. Their nickel guy. He's a good football player. Young guy, but a really good player, and got good experience in the linebacker core, and some of these guys that have been there forever up front. They've played a bunch of snaps, throughout their career. So definitely a group that will be excited to play the Tigers. And again, rivalry games. Doesn't really matter what you've done. Last year, last 10 years, last week. Doesn't really matter. It just comes down to, playing well in these 4 quarters. But looking forward to it. Off to a good start with our preparation. And obviously this is a different week from a preparation standpoint. It is Thanksgiving. We certainly, try to take time to make sure that we celebrate that, and give these guys some time with their families and things. But hope you all have a great Thanksgiving as well. And we, regardless of what happens on the scoreboard Saturday night, whether you're a Tiger or a Gamecock, we got a lot to be thankful for, all of us, that we have the privilege to be able to just, go participate in a game like this. There's certainly a lot of things going on in our world, and we can't ever lose sight of how fortunate and how blessed we are to be able to have pause, if you will, and celebrate a game, and compete. And it's important for this state. So excited to be a part of it. Look forward to heading down there on Friday and seeing if we can play our best game.
Coach, I expect your birthday was probably pretty good yesterday, coming off 3 big wins.
Well, I plan on holding off till this weekend. It's kind of birthday week. All I want is a win this week. That's what I want. It's been busy. Sundays it doesn't matter if you got a birthday or not. Sundays are Sundays and Mondays are Mondays. Whether your birthday is Sunday or Monday, doesn't matter. So just a lot of work. Got home last night, about 11 o'clock. But Kath was waiting up for me and had some cards and a couple gifts, and came into the radio show last night and I had a carrot cake and some food there. So, we'll celebrate later. Right now, it's about trying to find a way to win a game. That's all we're trying to do. But it was a good day, and did get a chance to communicate with a bunch of people via text.
Yeah, Gamecocks deprived you of a bowl last season with that 1-point comeback win. You have a chance to deprive them, or deprive you of a playoff maybe. You have a chance to deprive them of a bowl. Does that add any juice to it, or is it already juiced up as much?
Oh, man, it's always juiced up regardless of what the ramifications are. It's always a big deal every single year. Really is. You want to win this game, whether you're 0-12, 0-11, or 11-0. You want to win the game. Yeah, that hurt us last year for sure, and we got what we earned.
How was Beaux Collins yesterday?
Sore. He's sore.
How's Antonio looking? I know you wanted to get him in this week and see.
Yeah, he's close, but he's still in that day-to-day status for us.
Practicing this week, or?
Probably not, but we'll see today. He was just really sore yesterday. He's going to be fine, but just had I don't even know if that's a tendon or muscle or whatever that is, ripping his foot. So he's kind of tender.
Stellato, okay?
Yeah.
Coach, you've been going for a lot of fourth downs lately, and I'm sure that's a product of field position, and I'm sure that struggling in the kicking game also been a factor. But how much easier does it make those decisions having a defense like we do that we can bail you out if you don't get it?
That's a factor for sure. Sometimes there's a lot of things that go into those decisions. Obviously, field position and confidence in your offense, your quarterback, and making right decisions and those things. But also who your defense is, or maybe who the other team's offense is. I've been in those situations too, where you don't want to get them the ball back, and so. That was a plus for us the other night, being able to have a lot of times time possession, I don't really pay much attention to it, honestly. Sometimes it's a real factor, but if you're scoring fast, you don't really care, right? But when you play a team like North Carolina, to be able to keep the ball for 38 minutes was huge. I think we got the ball with a minute. It was a minute 14 or a minute 12. I think we ran about 12 plays with no timeouts. That might be a record. To be able to keep the ball away from them was huge for us in that game. But so sometimes it's time of possession, sometimes it's who the other offense is, sometimes it's your confidence in your defense, or just your confidence in how you're playing offensively.
With Rattler, it seems like some of their biggest plays, he's not a guy that's going to run for 100 on you, but happen when he's flushed, buys time, and then finds Legette or somebody down the field. Yeah,
they do a good job of, he doesn't just sit in the pocket very often. It's swap boots, setting edges. They got tight ends in there all the time, creating edges for him to get outside the pocket to extend time, and then he's an explosive player. He's if you give him time, he's incredibly accurate. He can make all the throws, but when he gets out of the pocket, and he doesn't get enough credit for his running ability. He can run. He can really run. He's crafty when he runs. He's a smart runner. He does a good job protecting himself, but he can go. But the thing is, like I said, they're smart. They don't just leave him in the pocket. They'll max protect, and give him time to let some of these they run a lot of deep shot, cross country, post, backside, deep crossers. They run a lot of those type of plays. And, those things take time. So they will max protect, or they will boot him and get him outside the pocket to allow those type of things to develop. And then he can throw it on the run, or he can pull up and let it go. So I think he's a very good player. I think he's played really well. I mean, he's made good decisions, and he does create a problem for you. With his legs and his arm, similar to Drake, who we just played. I mean, he can extend, and that's what happened on the big touchdown the other night, the first one. I mean, we didn't do a good job of containing outside, and he buys time. We got pressure coming. I think it was Woodaz was bearing down, and he's just drifting, and, next thing you know, he just over the top of you, and he's accurate. And I think Rattler's a lot like that.
Do you remember your evaluation of Xavier Legette when he was at Mullins, and just how he has developed in his time and to reach the level he's reached? Yeah,
I don't remember specific evaluation at the time, him coming out of high school, but I think he's he's developed incredibly well. I think he's going to be a big time pro, and and he's a great reminder to everybody that this is a developmental game. I mean, that's just the way it is. Everybody wants, and that's what I hate about this world we operate in now, in the world of college athletics. You should not be that way, but with the way the intensity of recruiting, and everybody's just, knows everything, and it talks about everything and evaluates and scrutinizes everything. If kids aren't great players as freshmen, it's like they stink. And it's such a bad mindset. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's very few quarterbacks. I mean, that's the same thing like at the quarterback position. If a guy doesn't play as a freshman, it's like, there's not many Trevor Lawrences or Deshaun's on the planet. There's just not. If you look at the 32, and if you looked at the 64 NFL quarterbacks, whoever the first and second guys are, I guarantee you very few of them started as freshmen in college. Very few. In fact, the guy for the Raiders was a walk-on at Purdue, I think. He was a walk-on. Now he's starting for the Raiders. This is a developmental game, especially, in football. It's not just skill, like some of these other sports. Not that those sports aren't developmental, they are. But it's so much more than skill in football. It's the physical development and the technical fundamental aspects that go along with it, and just the knowledge of the game. It's really hard. And, when you guys like Deshaun and Trevor, Sammy Watkins, they screw it up for everybody else, right? Those guys are, they're cyborgs. That's just not the norm. Look at Rattler, right? This kid is playing at an incredibly high level of football, and they want to get rid of him. He's a terrible player. And you look around the country, just look around. Bo Nix, he might win the Heisman. And they couldn't fire him quick enough down there at Auburn, right? Kids got to get better. Guys develop. There's a lot of things it's just the way this sport is. And so, I think Legette's a good. Is it Legette or Legette? Legette. Legette is a perfect example of that. He's just put the work in. He's gotten better. He's been well coached. He's just, he's put the weight in the film room, the weight room. He's a big, strong presence, and then his confidence grows. And next thing you know, you look up, and here's this senior that's a monster. And we've had a million of those guys come through here that, heck, Vic Beasley, he never started a game until his fourth year at Clemson. If that was happening today, he wouldn't even make it here 4 years, right? He wouldn't even make it. He wouldn't even be here. Guy did not start a game until his fourth year. And guess what? He didn't deserve to start a game. He wasn't a very good player. But he kept working, and then he came in his fifth year, and the guy's the 8th pick in the draft or something like that. So, It's a developmental game, and if you're made of the right stuff and you put the work in, hey, good things will happen. But it doesn't. It's not the same for everybody, and we try to make it the same for everybody, and it's not. It's just not the same. They might look the part, but fundamentally, technically, mentally, they got to develop. They might mentally have it, but fundamentally, technically, physically, they got a ways to go. And, but that's what's great about football. If you really, grind and work and don't look for shortcuts, because there aren't any, and, live, because, again, and it just comes with the territory, because you get so scrutinized, in today's world. It's a lot of pressure on these kids. A lot of them, they hit a wall, and it stunts their development, I think. Or they, I got to go, and they pack up and they leave, and the mirror goes with them, right? It's really the man in the mirror. And so I think he's a great example of development. They've done a really good job with him.
Did you just make your argument against recruiting the portal?
What's that?
Did you just make your argument for
No. I think there's a time and a place for kids need a fresh start. I think the portal's a great tool for a lot of these kids. I mean, I just think early on, if you got freshmen that, okay, they're not starting, so they must be bad, and we pile on these kids and all this stuff, and next thing you know, these guys, it's going to be easier over here, because that's the world where we've taught them. But I think the portal's great. It's a great tool for coaches and a great tool for the kids, because sometimes they just need a new opportunity. Sometimes they just want to have a chance to play. Maybe competitively they're graduates and they just need an opportunity, or a situation where a guy needs a fresh start, especially at the quarterback position. So I think Spencer's a great example of that.
Usually you'll see teams with multiple playmakers, but the fact that, they've had an injury to Wells, so Legette's had to be the guy they're trying to develop. I mean, just observing it from a set of eyes from the outside, how are they getting it done so often? Because you'd think every junk defense in the world would be throwing it, trying to contain him.
Well, 10's a good little player. I mean, like I said, 8's a guy he's been emerging for them, young guy. I don't know him. Certainly haven't coached him, but he's a physical presence. A guy can run, but I'm sure, he's a freshman, right? I mean, and so he's been coming and developing. So I think they've brought him along, and then, their tight ends, they've really gotten those guys involved, 1 and 6. 24, I mean, DeCarrion's a guy that's made a lot of plays in his career. And they've done some creative things. They've done a little wildcat. I mean, they brought the backup quarterback in there this past week as well, a couple situations. So, and then I think just, protection-wise, they've tried to do some things to, give Rattler opportunities to get the ball down the field, and he can do it.
Dabo.
Formations, motions, you name it. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. When you look at other rivalries across the nation, and ones that you've been a part of, like I'm from Ohio, so I know that U of M, Ohio State rivalry, but being here covering this one, there's just something different about it that I can't put my finger on. From your eyes, what do you think makes this one unique?
Well, I think it's unique. Again, from my perspective, coming from Alabama. Growing up Alabama-Auburn my whole life, it's just coming here to me was just more of the same, very normal to me. I think what makes it unique is the same thing that makes Alabama-Auburn unique, and that is there's no pro sports in this state. I mean, and even if you're somebody that just moves into this state, like if you move to Charleston, there's a lot of people move to Charleston, right? You move to Greenville, you're not going to be able to live in those areas long without going, okay, what's going on around here? These people are crazy, and you're gonna get sucked into it one way or another. You're gonna have to, or otherwise you're gonna lose some friends. You're gonna have to make a decision. They're not gonna let you ride the fence. Even if you're a fan of another team, you're gonna have to get invested one way or another. So, it just means a lot to this state. I mean, it's college football, and it's high school football in the state of South Carolina, and that's normal to me, having grown up Not to diminish any other rivalries or anything like that, but a lot of these, you mentioned Ohio. I mean, there was a lot of pro sports in those states, right? But that's just not the case here, so it's all about college football. And then you got, and it's an old rivalry. This goes back a long time. So it's got deep roots. Just like Alabama Auburn. I mean, again, it's very similar to me. And when I first, I've told this story many times, when I first came to Clemson, I didn't really know what to expect. Certainly, I'd never lived anywhere. My whole life, 33 years, I lived in Alabama, and we moved up here. And I remember going out on the road that first spring, and I was excited to get out. I had the PD area, and so down there in Horry County and Florence, and Sherrall, and all up Highway 9, and Lamar, and Chesterfield, and McBee, and Sumter, all of that area, Loris, and Lakeview, where there was no lake, and Lake City, where there was no lake. I remember thinking, this is going to be great. I'm going to Lake City. Well, there was no lake. I'm like, I can't wait to go to Lakeview. There was no lake. But, going to all these areas in my PD area, and it was crazy because, people don't know who you are. They don't know you. They don't know you from Adam. They have no idea, but they judge you instantly. When you walk in the school and you got on the logo, they hate you. That's just the way it is. So all I can tell you is that's probably what makes it different. It's just really personal in this state, and vice versa. You walk in, it's a Clemson person, you're the best friend they've ever met in their life, and even though they just met you, so it's a rivalry.
How much of getting pressure on Rattler starts with winning first down, stopping the run, and creating the situations where you can rush?
I mean, we say all the time, you got to earn the right to rush the passer by stopping the run, and they're not going to give up on the run. They're gonna try to get something going in the run game for sure. Create some play actions. Again, all their boots and swap boots that come that create big plays for them. So it starts there. I mean, and containing him in the pocket, trying to not let him extend the plays. So we've got to win. We got to be able to, affect him. If he's a comfortable guy back there, you're in for a long day. He's a good player.
Coach, speaking of the run game and developmental game, how about that running back Anderson from Newberry? It's quite a story, isn't it?
He is tough, hard-nosed kid, man, and he's just kind of risen up, and he's gotten better and better as the season is going, and has kind of established himself. But he's a hard guy to tackle, and you better have your big boy pads on when you do come to tackle him. I mean, downhill runner. I've been very impressed with him, and certainly a great story.
What's your favorite part of the rivalry week situation, as conferences are probably, certainly, definitely not done realigning the value of these and the importance for places just like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for the fans, obviously. I mean, I think it's great for the players, too, to go to college and to be able to experience playing in games like this that are so meaningful, to just, everything. Everybody that you interact with, they're just really meaningful. Not that other games aren't. And that's one thing you worry about with where college football is going, because it's 5 years from now, it's totally different. It's just the way it is. And so a lot of these type games will go away. Already they're not playing Oklahoma State. Are you kidding me? How the heck are we not playing Oklahoma State? It doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Can you imagine not playing Clemson, South Carolina? I just, I don't understand it, but I understand it, how we've gotten here. I hate that. I hate that for the kids. I hate it for the fans. As a guy who grew up in rivalry games, played in them, and have coached in them for a long time, it's what makes college football unique. It's what makes it special. But it is what it is right now. Hopefully somewhere down the road, when this whole thing kind of gets blown up, and it will, maybe we can salvage some of those things.
Do you think the player of today takes a rivalry game as seriously as maybe when you were playing in your rivalry back in the day?
When you lose it, they do. It doesn't take long to figure that one out. When you live in a state like this, or Alabama or something, and you come up on the short end of the stick, at some point you'll figure it out pretty quick. But I do think it's different, just because recruiting is much more national now because there is no long distance, right? Like when I was coming up, if you looked at the rosters of Alabama, you looked at the rosters of Auburn, most of the kids, great majority, were guys that grew up intimately familiar with the rivalry, right? And that was probably the case for Clemson, South Carolina as well. If you go back to the 70s and 80s and maybe the 90s, Tim, you could probably, and it was probably South Carolina kids, Georgia, North Carolina, some Florida guys, and then you maybe have a guy here or there. But most of the kids probably grew up very familiar with that. But today's world where, you can, you can FaceTime to somebody in Hawaii, like right now in 30 seconds. It's changed that. And there's so much exposure. You can visit Clemson without coming to Clemson, right? We couldn't even fathom those type of things back in the 80s. You didn't even have phones. You couldn't. How you gonna zoom into something? Virtually tour with a drone flying through a building. You didn't have that. So, in those days, people kind of got to where they could drive to, and you got the coverage you got was mostly regional, and actually everybody read a newspaper, right? So nowadays it's everybody has access to everything, and we got. Look at our roster. We got kids from L.A., Texas, Missouri, Connecticut, down to Naples, Florida, and everywhere in between. So, and that's because of what TV and social media and just technology has done. But it means a lot. The game's still important. They definitely feel that. It's for sure. But probably a little different than back years ago when, again, the rosters were probably a little more local.
Your defense the last 3 weeks has 10 takeaways. I know you've been complimentary them all year, but is there something you've seen that's allowed them to flip that switch to more of a ball hawking, playmaking type unit?
Well, just preparation. Preparation, details, relentless to the ball. Effort, uncommon effort. Punching it out, ripping it out. Great preparation from a pass defense standpoint. So eyes on the right things, proper depths, proper leverage, formation recognition. All of those things lead to great anticipation. I think we've finished on some balls. We've gotten our hands on some balls. So all those things, go into it. But they've gotten better and better as the year has gone. They honestly have played well all year. We've had some moments here or there, but those guys have done a great job, been pretty relentless.
How high are you on Capehart's future, just based on some of the stuff you've seen recently?
Man, he's coming into his own. It's fun to see. He's a perfect example. This kid wasn't anywhere near ready to be a good player when he got here. He looked the part, but he wasn't in great shape. He wasn't very strong. Didn't have great body composition. Certainly did not know the game. Did not have good fundamentals. Did not have good technique. He just was a lot of potential. And this kid has worked and worked and worked. And, man, Nick's done an amazing job with him, and he's just developed and developed. And you look up and you go, wow, he is a monster. And he's still, his runway's still way out there. But it's so fun to watch him now. He's just got a lot of confidence to him, you know, and a lot of the work that he's put in, he's starting to see some of the fruits of that labor, and I'm really proud of him. He's a great kid. And I mean, he is a great kid. Everybody on the team loves him. He's selfless, and I mean, he's a mountain of a man. I mean, he's like, get a difference, like him and Dexter Lawrence. Like, he's got Dexter type ability, but he didn't show up here like Dexter, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. I guarantee they're gonna end up in the same spot. You know, one guy had a little more of a straight path. The other guy had to kind of weave and wind a little bit. But he's got a bright future.
Yeah, but all season long, you've been very vocal about the offense and the turnovers they had in the first part of the year. We just talked about your defense and how they're trending in the right direction. Describe how important that is with the biggest game in the state coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, it's great because we've still been turning it over. So the best way to win the turnover margin is let's get them. You know, so I mean that's and it's always important. Some years you're just so much better than the opponent that you're playing. Maybe you lose the margin and you win the game, but you know, we don't have that type of margin for error this year. And I mean, it's truly all about the ball with this team. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's not like we've gotten our butts handed to us. I mean, we've had a chance to win every single game we've played, and every game we've lost, we have lost the turnover margin. And you know, we've won the margin 3 times in a row, and that's why we've won the game. You know, they've continued. It's not that there's not other things and stuff. There always is, but the way they've competed all year has been incredibly consistent. I'm really proud of that, and that's what's been frustrating about the year as you go through it, because you know, as a football guy, you really recognize so many great things that are going on, but it's just it's hard to overcome. 3 turnovers. It's hard. Or 2 turnovers, especially when you're playing, good teams. And that has been an Achilles heel for this team, and it's frustrating, but it's also been inspiring because they've just kept going. And they've not allowed that to change their preparation. They've not allowed it to change their joy in what they're doing. They've not allowed it to, splinter the team or anything like that. They've just used it as fuel to just keep working. And so that's been the most satisfying part of, this month so far, is just seeing, them get the success and to win the margin. And defensively, man, we've still had some turnovers, but we've been able to win the margin. And this game in particular, that's really what it's come down to. I mean, we lost 5 in a row. And in that 5-year stretch that we lost 5 of these in a row, we turned it over 15 times to their 3. That's how you get beat. You want to know how to lose 5 in a row? Well, there you go. We had 15 turnovers to their 3, including one year. I thought we definitely had the better team in 13. And I think we had 6 turnovers and still had a chance. I think we had a chance right there at the end. I think it was Humphreys maybe fumbled right there on the punt return at the end of the game. So, and that's usually what it comes down to in games like this, and that's what happened last year. We didn't deserve to win. We didn't take care of the ball in the fourth quarter, had 2 turnovers, 2 lost possessions. And so, it's a critical factor in every game, but especially in rivalry games.
Coach, special teams was a big factor in the game last year as well. Coach brought Beamer back. They played Beamer ball all season last year. Outside of place kicking, obviously having its issues, you have to feel pretty good about the rest of your special teams.
I do. Hopefully our fake punt will work this week. Try to call that first or second series. Hopefully that one will work. If we can get that one to go, be good. Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of Aiden Swanson, first of all, and he's coming back, by the way. He's was originally, I think he's fallen in love with it. He's had a great year, man. He's been a weapon for us. Our battery and all those guys have done a good job for us. Robert Gunn, I think, has had 13 straight touchbacks. I mean, he's been a weapon in that regard. Obviously, we've struggled in field goal, especially how we started. It's kind of hard to recover, but that's an area we've got to address in the spring for sure. We've got to get better there, but our coverage has been really good. I mean, we've had good protection. Really, I've been pleased with what we've been able to do there, coverage-wise, punt and kickoff coverage. We've been able to, pop a few little returns here or there. I'm disappointed. We've had a couple penalties the past couple weeks that have negated a couple plays for us, but we've done a nice job. But South Carolina does a great job as well, and that'll be a key part of this game. When you think about special teams, your job is to score and set up a score and win field position, right? So, big part.
Is Gunn still struggling in practice with field goals?
He's about 60%, since we've been tracking it. So that's about what he's at, on about 80-something kicks.
Trump is going to attend this weekend's game. It's been confirmed. Any reaction to that?
I don't care who comes to the game. I just care about who's playing in the game. So unless Shane's going to put him in and throw him a halfback pass or something, I ain't worried about who's at the game. I just want to win it and focus on who's playing.
Dabo, to say people are passionate about this game outside of the programs is a bit of an understatement. In all of your years that you've been a part of this rivalry, what's the most interesting interaction you've had?
Say that one more time.
Just the most interesting interaction you've had a part of this rivalry in your years of coaching?
With like a fan?
Any interaction.
I mean, probably Steve Spurrier. That'd probably be my most interesting interactions. I obviously knew Coach Spurrier. My playing days at Alabama, and then coaching all those years at Alabama. I guess the last time I saw Coach Spurrier was 1999. We beat him in the SEC championship. He won't like being reminded or me mentioning that, but we did. Beat him twice that year, actually. Beat him in the swamp in overtime. AC Carter went up on a nice little play in the end zone, and then we handed it to him pretty good in the SEC championship game that year, '99. And then we got fired the next year, so I didn't see him for a while. And then I come to Clemson, and I'm just kind of minding my own business, doing my job. And then you look up, and here he comes to South Carolina. And then I become the head coach. And so I would definitely have to say my most interesting interactions came with the old ball coach, who was a great friend and a guy I really, really got a lot of respect for. And in fact, I'll see him here in a couple weeks. We'll always go to the Hall of Fame. I always enjoy seeing them out there. That was good. And then probably another great interaction was he invited me to his Hall of Fame party. That was interesting. That was really interesting. And not only did he invite me, he like singled me out from his. He might have had a cocktail or two, but he singled me out from the stage. And so because there was Duke people there, a bunch of Gators, and then obviously a bunch of Gamecocks. So that was an interesting evening, but I had fun. So that'd probably be I've met a lot of them. I've met a lot of people. I've had some crazy calls, after we lose a game. I don't know how people get my number. I've had some, like, wow, there's really a person in this world like that. I've had some of those, but probably Coach Spurrier.
We got time for one more question.
What did he say?
Who?
Spurrier, when he singled you out?
He just, made a point to, call me out in the crowd and recognize me. And, I'm trying to just lay low. And he put me on blast, cracked a joke or two, certainly mentioned the wins that he had. He left out the losses, but, he mentioned all those 5 good wins they had. But he was great. He was really great. But that was all my probably unique interactions came through him.